You're listening to Force Majeure, an actual play Star Wars podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm your host, and this is a slightly different episode. As you're aware, we've finished the Coldfire Chronicles Chapter 1, and this is a bit of a table chat episode, really, where the cast and crew have a bit of a reminisce about what's gone before, and a talk about what's coming ahead. Ed will be giving us a little bit of a teaser preview of Shadows of the Jedi, so both you and we know what's waiting for us there. But mostly it's just a chance to touch base really as people rather than characters and talk about how we felt the game went. So around the table I have...
Hi, I'm Ross. I played Agatha, a Morailan warrior aggressor.
My name's Ed Fortune. I play Oberon Brick, who is a human hunter-seeker.
I'm Mim, and I am playing Larsa, who is a human sentinel artisan.
And I'm Mikey, and I'm playing Jiren, who is a Chiss mystic advisor.
So, for those of you wondering how British this podcast is, we currently have big box full of biscuits, and you'll occasionally hear the sound of cups of tea being put down, because as soon as we finish the campaign, we put the kettle on.
During the campaign as well, we put the kettle on, and before the campaign, we put the kettle on.
I couldn't finish the campaign without tea.
In the game, during the game, when we were playing, our characters put the kettle on.
I think we were basically British squared by that point, weren't we?
So we're basically the baddies in Star Wars.
I think so. We have the accents, the love of tea, and the sharp dress sense.
I don't remember a bit in the Death Star where they go and put the kettle on there.
That was a deleted scene.
Was it? Was it?
Yeah.
That was also the scene in which Darth Vader was in the queue in the cafeteria and wanted to know whether he had to get peas with his penne arrabbiata.
That's actually, that exhaust valve.
Yes.
That's actually it's not like a central power core. It's for all the kettles.
It's attached to a Burko.
As soon as Heights and Depths finishes, the exhaust thing comes out of it. I understand.
So you've never seen it the first thing in the morning in the Death Star when they walk on and they're like, oh, it's cold, put kettle on and stick the central heating
Well,
on.
as far as I know, Grand Moff Tarkin was wandering around in his slippers all the way through, so I imagine he had a nice cup of tea.
Well, you never saw him from the knees down.
Well, you didn't, because he didn't like the boots they gave him.
Well, no, it's because they were slippers. He was wearing monster feet.
That would make the Stormtrooper march so much better.
If I was a Moff, I'd wear monster feet and a onesie and just be like, bring it.
Nobody would question that authority.
I'm fairly sure they were a lovely pair of tweed slippers rather than monster feet.
Big Simpsons ones.
Yeah. I've got the idea of a Moff working from home, however. just
a dressing gown.
Dials in, and he's got he's got his pens, which look like rank insignia, but they're just pens. We know they're just pens. And he's just kind of the half up, and then the camera accidentally slips, and you can just see his shorts.
I wish it was the same for Darth Vader.
Well, that's why you only see the Emperor in his dressing gown telepresencing into the Death Star most of the time. Yeah. Because that's exactly what he's doing. He's working from home. He said, I'll put my dressing gown hood up so I look like I'm official. But
I am Emperor of the Galactic Empire, and I can dial in if I bloody well want to. You're not my supervisor.
My lord, is that your dressing gown? No, it's a Sith robe. It is. It's a Sith robe.
It depends. Sith robe and you walk out of here, or dressing gown and you don't. It's a Sith robe, my lord.
It
Very
depends.
good.
Can you see my pyjamas? No, my lord. Then it's a Sith robe.
It's a Sith robe, and those are Sith soft shoes. They're not fluffy buddy slippers or fluffy porg slippers. You've got to be able to get fluffy porg slippers.
I'm fairly sure this isn't sidetracked because we didn't actually get on track at the start. So we're just on a different track.
What we've actually done is we've brave new words this entire thing. He said dropping the name of my podcast in just very early on.
Subtle.
Name dropper.
I'm going to need more tea for this. Let me say that now.
Incidentally, if any of you want to listen to Brave New Words, at least half of us are on that as well.
So right, okay, so Chapter 1 of the Coldfire Chronicles has ended. How are we feeling?
I'm still alive. I'm impressed. I was fully expecting to do something heroic. Sorry, stupid. And end up dead. Well, yeah, but it was going to have more... But there's going to be more death. I think Jiren was ready to do something very reckless, as per his weaknesses.
I did have that moment of, when we were all fleeing to get out there.
Yes.
On the ship away from Brother. Part of my brain was like, yeah, let's hang around for another couple of minutes. Let's see how...
That'll make it exciting.
We'll do a victory lap of the planet, having shot down that shuttle.
Close the door. No, leave the door open. This might be exciting.
I like the fact that for the next couple of hours, every time Agatha comes in with a cup of tea or something, I'll be just like, ah! Oh, it's okay.
Oh, Jiren, even though we're now in deep space, Jiren is absolutely certain that Temporal is on the side of the ship, just trying to get in.
Oh, like the gremlin.
Yes.
Look out the wing. There's nothing there.
I am the one who knocks.
Yeah, I've totally shatnered it in Twilight Zone.
Shatnered it. I shatnered myself, man.
The thing that we don't realise, of course, is that on 10th Brother's ship, he had his exclusive limited edition collector Porg set. He had all 120, he collected them all, and they were all on his ship.
They're called Pogs, not Porgs.
You gotta catch them all.
Finally, I have the holiday special. I'll just leave it on the ship while I kill these Padawans.
So did we enjoy it? Did we think it went well?
It was a lot of fun. It was very scary.
I did not see the plot twist in chapter 9. Chapter 1, episode 9 coming.
No, it was nice. I thought we'll have to fight this very dangerous Sith Lord. No, we're finding the guy we've rescued. That's
Yeah, something could be during the fight. What powers has he got again? I don't think we've ever covered that subject.
Were you guys like me and going, oh, he's got a big gun, he's got his armour on, oh, awesome, we have got a fantastic person to help us in the clearly nasty big fight that's coming up. That fight's going to be so bad. He's armed our pet NPC. It's going to be great. And then it's like, where are you putting that gun? Where's that gun? Oh.
And your pet NPC, Sprinkle, he's doing fine.
Yeah.
He's not a pet NPC. He is a valued member of the team.
He's far more valued than me, I'll tell you that. But going back to the start of the campaign, I like the way we've progressed from where we were to, even though it's just been a short run of it, but to where we are. We have actually a proper team now, mostly. There's a certain amount of...
I hate you. I'm scared of you. I have no idea what's going on with you.
There is a certain
We will
amount
leave
of
that
I
to the
calm
listener
them
to
down.
work out which one of the three of us she would want to do.
Place your bets. Place your bets.
There is a certain amount of I calm them down and then you rile them up. But
I love that. I love it.
I seem to rile them up regardless of which one of you tries to calm them down.
I quite by accident have given Oberon a proper character arc because he got to do something faintly heroic. But I think I've done this thing, and I never do this thing with tabletop characters, but I've done it with this one, where I've essentially picked the moody ranger who lurks around the back, and thus I have fantastic own minute in a monologue, which is rubbish because this is radio. So there's there's a whole life going on with this character, and occasionally he'll perk up and go yes, but I'm the party's strict stud, and I might as well have 2 swords, be a dark elf, have a panther with a stupid name.
in the question at the start of the last episode, I said we were quite similar, but that is completely the opposite of Jiren. Jiren doesn't have an inner monologue, he only has an outer monologue, and anything that comes into his head he says.
I think most of the listeners, sadly, you're only getting half the experience, because without Larsa's very British facial expressions, which change everything she says at times, you're not getting the scowls, the disappointment.
You do a good scowl, then. You do
If you will imagine, every time Jiren speaks, Larsa is scowling at him. It's just that.
Like your grandma looks at you when you've taken the last biscuit and there's crumbs and she's just hoovered having you over and you should clear up the crumbs. She's not going to say anything because she knows you should clear up the crumbs. But, yeah.
I was very tempted early on to give Oberon received pronunciation, which I can do, but then I realised that received pronunciation is an absolute... For American listeners, RP is the English accent.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's more than that, it's the Queen's accent,
It's
isn't
the
it?
Queen's accent.
Yes.
But I can't be bothered
Be like,
because...
I shoot him with my gun.
But it's such an effort to do. If it's not, if it's not something you have to do every day, which I don't, then I try and avoid doing RP because you just feel like an absolute burk.
Well, the other thing as well is when you're doing accents for characters, it's got to be one that you can slip into and out of without having to think too much about it.
Proper true, that is.
Well, exactly. I mean,
I've struggled a lot with that bit.
Yeah.
I think of the four of us, I've probably got the least experience when it comes to actually playing role-playing games, an awful lot. But yeah, which is why Agatha's come across as sort of monosyllabic, speaking himself in the third person far more than I really ought to have done. But it kept it simple.
well, it's all right. You can redeem yourself in Shadows of the Jedi.
Yeah,
You're party face.
That is a party face.
That is a party face. But no, I think accents are... To do a good accent, you've got to kind of be comfortable in it. It's why I mean, for my part, again, throwing a few spoilers for Shadows of the Jedi, I'm going to be in an accent because I think that it's important. I don't know whether or not, I don't know how discernible it is, but I clearly have been doing my phone voice when I've been GMing, because even my mum is like, that doesn't sound like you, and I'm like, I know, how nasal am I? So I'm going to go for something quite different, and I've been struggling over which accent I can do. I was going to go with a kind of Cockney, but I find that I swear far too much in a Cockney accent.
It's just part of the linguistics, I'm afraid.
It is, and though we're trying to keep this clean, and we have a big board with a list of in-character swear words and in-universe swear words, so we can expleet to our heart content without being unsafe for kids.
And we have a timestamp.
And we do have there's an awful lot that gets edited out, like the timestamp, which is usually when we say something particularly horrific, or I lose my the number of times I lose my train of thought while GMing and have to go and have a few moments to regather.
Also, the time you forgot which episode we were recording.
Also, the time.
The time you asked everybody a question, turned to J-Ren, and then just moved on from him without asking anything.
No, it is fine. I am a very private person.
I mean, coming soon in Portrayal Rewards, all the horrible stuff that gets cut out. Maybe.
You see, this is it. I have an actual regional accent.
Really?
Never.
But it was at the point when we were talking about the warship. I was like, warship? It's not my ship.
I still don't.
And the look on your face as well.
Don't understand.
When it was just like, you were just like, what? What are you talking about?
In fairness, Ed, you get that look an awful lot from everyone, regardless of what you're talking about or context.
Oh, I was recently in the northeast of England in Newcastle. We had to stop for directions, and the closest shop was St James's Park, which is the Newcastle football team for Americans, and it's basically
not just for Americans. I don't do football,
and it is the most Geordie place, the most northeast England place you can get is St James's Park. And I walked in, and apparently I was east of Ashington. I was like, how are the lads, all the way through, proper Geordie Whale song, going all the way, singing up and down with my voice, like this proper little Geordie boy. Oh, as soon as I walked into the shop, because I was asking for directions in St James's Park. So I walked out, and my wife was just laughing so hard, because she was like, I don't know where you were from, but I think it was Biker Grove.
Oh, dear. If any of you don't know what Biker Grove is, don't wiki it. Just straight away go and look at the trailer for it, the music for the intro, because that will tell you everything you need to know about it.
You also might not be able to understand anything they're saying.
That's the point.
I can't.
So, okay, getting back to the game then. I mean, I'm hoping y'all are enjoying our digressions. This is what it's normally like.
I want to hear everybody's phone voice. Now I know what yours sounds like. What's your phone voice?
I don't know.
Don't bang on the table.
Oh, sorry.
I think mostly you hear my phone voice, well, it's pretty much this, but when I'm doing the Brave New Words podcast, which, I didn't mean to plug again, that was the second plug, I'm sorry.
When this episode's released, we'll put in a link for the Brave New Words podcast to calm Ed down.
Is that the Brave New Words podcast you said?
That would be the Brave New Words podcast.
But no, that's my phone voice, that's the...
Well, interestingly, the reason Jaren has such a horrendous voice is because for the next game we're playing, I'm going to probably be speaking like I normally do. So I wanted to differentiate between the voice I've got now and the Jaren's voice, where he mumbles a bit, he stutters a bit, and he's very excited about what's going on.
So, I mean, do we think... Going back to Coldfire then, and our characters, it's been a fairly short arc, but as you said, Mikey, there's been, I like to think, some development as we've gone along. What do we each think's our kind of pivotal moment of character change?
The moment I realised I was in love with Prinkle.
I like your Jadra fan.
I like it.
I would say for Jiren it was the moment I realised I was in love with Prinkle. Wait, what?
Which one of you just used a force power on the...
Prinkle.
Fight for me, my precious.
No, I'd say certainly for Jiren, it was him realising he wasn't just some charming, like, oh, I'm here, I'm very charming, people like me, that's why I'm part of this thing with all these people with superpowers, and actually getting to use his superpowers himself, because he'd still, up until right at the end of episode 8...
Yeah, 7 or 8.
Yeah, didn't think he had any power at all. He just thought that people did what he wanted because he's blessed essentially. In fact, my with the experiencing the Force, the heed of the call is some people are just blessed.
I think with over on the first episode because Oberon has the ability to see into the future. As soon as he realizes that he's been waiting for his moment to escape the planet, he's knowing it's going to come. He's got a rough idea that he's constantly on the crossroads as a character, because he's left a life of privilege. Because it was a great life of privilege, but evil. So he was like, and not sure where he was going, and where it went was jail. So he was a bit surprised by that, and wasn't expecting to be trapped. And as soon as
rich people don't go to jail; they get fined.
Well, exactly. So he was expecting to, because he defied his entire family, he's now in jail, and he's like, right. And as soon as the opportunity to escape went, that's why he went full on into the armor, into hero mode. But that wasn't where his character changed. His character changed at the end of this entire sequence, where I start sticking up for my friends.
That moment where he got changed into your wonderful hunter-inspired, again, slightly British-inspired tally-ho hunter's outfit. Yes, we're going to go and get out of here. That was a big impact on me. As far as first impressions go, the fact that things have got tricky. Costume change. This looks like what I'm designed for. That was a real okay then moment for Larsa and you.
I would say Jiren is actually quite scared by the concept of your family, because he knows that you were sent here for a political reason. You've mentioned that, and this is not a nice prison. There are nicer prisons in the core planets. You are basically on the prison they sent Kirk to. It's horrific. You could possibly die here. They do not care, and when they find out you've escaped, we might have a problem.
So he's meant to be the heir. He's the heir, and I'm guessing that the next person to come after me will be the spare. He'll be quite annoyed that they suddenly weren't expecting to be in charge, and they suddenly are. But I don't know how the campaign's going to go.
Neither do I yet.
That's one thing that I'm a bit concerned about, because whilst I'm trapped on a planet, Jiren is all friends, because we all have something to do. But now we've got a little bit more freedom. Will Jiren still be around? Does Jiren find any use with you? Because he's not a nice guy. So I don't know. It'd be quite interesting to find out what binds him to you guys now we don't have to be together. So we shall see.
Yeah, I think of the three of you, I think Oberon is the one that Agatha is least sure of, because he's acted mostly independently. He's decided this is a great adventure, here's the costume change. But he's not necessarily melded as part of the team. Episode 10 notwithstanding, because you did start building up together. I think the turning point for Agatha was probably the point in, I think, episode 4, when the four of us had a vision together. Whereas, because
that was an interesting.
Where up to that point we hadn't done anything of the kind. So that was suddenly one where we actually started unifying a little bit. Other than that, I can't see any specific moment where Agatha's been anything other than what he really started at, is mostly he's got a lot of force power, which is mostly self-directed. He mostly enhances himself.
Oh, I've got a question, Ross. When you terrified me by accident, shall we say, how do you feel about my response? Because you probably weren't expecting me to be quite so freaked out, and that's got to have changed things a bit.
I've not thought about as much as I'll obviously have to think about it before chapter 2 kicks off. But at this point, the intention was, I just need these two people to stop niggling for a minute so I can stop the one who's attacking us, so that we can get on board the ship and get out of here.
All right. Well,
there wasn't a long-term plan to that beyond. Let's disarm the threat that we've got.
I imagine Agatha thinks that everybody is scared of him.
Not necessarily sure whether that's true. He wants to terrify things that he wants to, dominate over, but for the most part he hasn't been trying to do that on the rest of the team.
Do you not just assume that everybody's a little bit intimidated by you because you're a very intimidating man?
I'm not sure. That's a good question I'm going to have to think of. There was a point when, I think episode 4 or so, when we were in Pajak's shack the first time, when Larsa refers to Agatha as a good lad because he's helping out with various mechanic tests and so on. And I felt, no, this is actually a guy who's quite dangerous when he needs to be, and at some point is going to show that. And it turns out he did in chapter 1. And I don't know where that's going to go yet, but I like the fact that he isn't a good lad, and that's sort of more established now. So I don't know what that's going to do, but that isn't going away for a while.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're sending you to make a cup of tea anytime soon.
Yeah, we're not. The two of us aren't parent. Yeah, you're not going to climb into speed with me on your own for a minute.
No.
There's a really good biography on Andre the Giant by Box Brown. It's a comic strip. It's a graphic novel, sorry. And there's a wonderful moment where Andre the Giant, one of the ways that he respects people is when people just get on with it. As in, they're not scared of him because he's huge. They just get on with it. And he always makes fast friends with the people who aren't intimidated by him because he's like, well, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Like, day to day, I'm not going to crush you. I could. But that...
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
It's worth a look, actually. It's a really good graphic novel.
No, I've seen some of the interviews after, and some of the other backstories from when he did The Princess Bride. He was a really nice guy to people because, he's a 7-foot giant. What else is he going to do?
Yeah, the only way you can be a gentle giant, because anything else, you're probably in prison and not getting any fan mail anymore.
And there we are.
Right, okay. I'm now Andre the Giant. Brilliant.
Have we surprised you, Adam, with anything that we've done?
Oh, no.
Saving Pyjack.
I'm just going to stop you for a second because I've just realised you're Andre the Giant, you're Inigo Montoya, and I'm inconceivable. Oh, God. Carry on.
Oh my gosh, wait, does that make me the old white-haired guy who's...
Miracle Max.
I'm either Miracle Max or I'm the bloke the wheelbarrow.
No, he's Wesley.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
No, you're Billy
Vizzini.
You're Billy Crystal.
No, he's
I'm
Vizzini.
Yeah.
He's Vizzini. He's clearly Vizzini.
Yeah.
I think, actually, man, that makes you the Dread Pirate Roberts. Or Buttercup. I don't know.
You're a rat of unusual size, that's what you
Yeah.
are. Sorry, I
I'll go for
interrupted. Sorry.
No, things that really surprised me. Pyjack surviving. He was not written to survive.
Oh.
I remember listening to one of these with Chris Burley and his Redemption, I think season 1 or season 2 table chat. And Chris was Redemption is a very good podcast.
Very good, yes.
And Chris Burley was saying that one of the NPCs that he plays in that, or that's now become his PC, R3A1, was originally written as an antagonist for the party. But because of the way he was treated by KO specifically, he became a lot more amicable and is now a full-fledged member of the crew. And with Pyjack, he was written there really as something, as like your unifying force and your target, but I hadn't anticipated him surviving. I don't know why, because you've got the capability to not kill someone. I think I've probably just been spoiled by running too much D&D. I don't know. But him surviving, because it now means that I'm going to have to do a lot of thought, really, for Season 2 about how he plugs in, because he's now going to be filling the mentor role a lot more in uptime than I'd anticipated. And especially with Prinkle kind of coming along as well, I'm wary about running 2 NPCs that are reasonably pivotal in a small party. And I'm always wary about that as a GM.
We had to bring Prinkle. He's lovely.
Badass.
Prinkle is awesome.
Well, also the fact that with Pyjack, we got lucky because Pyjack didn't open up. Had he opened up, he'd have been dead.
Yeah.
And maybe we could have lost a party member quite easily.
Oh yeah, I would have. I was expecting you to get shot in that round.
Yeah, that weapon is dangerous because he's a clear and present threat. You know, it's what he was trained to do. So that was the main one that really kind of surprised me. I say surprised. Having been running games as long as I've been running, I don't tend to get surprised that easily because I don't really structure my games.
Yeah.
I write a very solid starting point that's kind of immutable, and then I write a load of stuff around. I mean, for the prison camp, I've got a list of maybe 15 or 20 NPCs, of which you've had some of them. There were encounters planned if you went in the prison camp. There was stuff going on in there that you never even came near because you didn't go in the prison camp.
Yeah.
And that's, again, generally how I tend to do it, because I know that no story really survives first contact with the players. So I don't write a rigid story structure because there's no point.
But I remember you saying when we were off the mics that you'd planned for the end bit right from the start, and that was a scene you'd got in there. So do you set scenes up like?
I do some really, the Pyjack Order 66 thing.
Yeah,
I've had in my head from starting to write this. That was one of the big things that I kind of had in my head. Yeah,
I did love that, by the way. That rocked my world.
You see, I'd clocked that he was because you dropped enough hints that he was a clone trooper, and then it was just like, well, he must have survived. He must have been one of those clone troopers that somehow the chip didn't work, or he had a head injury, because they're in the canon.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, no. He's just very strong-willed and lucky.
That's a nice way. If you want to get rid of him, of course, I can try and remove the chip with my 1 level in medicine.
No.
Well, we don't know it exists.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I know,
and it could have been not stopping or strong-willed or anything. We're not Jedi, therefore it didn't kick in.
And
only when he was suggested we were Jedi by a very strong-willed person that he...
Well, that was deliberate phrasing on my part, because I needed for him to identify you as Jedi affiliates, and again that was a deliberate choice of words. And I'm always a bit wary with stuff like that for it coming across a bit railroady. But I think it just made the scene, if you know what I mean. I think without that, I'm not sure I could have ended this on as key a note.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question about how Order 66 works, because presumably if you've got the Force influence power,
Yes.
and you know that clone troopers have it, then you're probably an Inquisitor, therefore you know exactly the sort of phrasing and mental impulse, and impersonate the Emperor at this point and sound just like this, intone just this way to trigger them off, which means that technically speaking you could turn around to a bunch of clone troopers and go, "Clone troopers who are currently fighting me, that monster over there is a Jedi. Mind voodoo," and off they go and get eaten by
Does that mean there's loads of people sitting around doing, "Do your best, Emperor Palpatine"?
But by that token, if you're turning them into weapons like that, that raises a lot of ethical implications over and above what's been done, because Order 66 and what was just done to Pyjak, that isn't the act of a good person, I wouldn't say. No. And even turning them from a weapon aimed at you to a weapon aimed at somebody else.
That's clearly dark side.
It's clearly dark side. So I suppose it depends on where you want to be on that chain.
I'm mostly taken by the idea of a retired stormtrooper owning his own restaurant and killing at least one customer a day.
Until they got rid of, they reduced the menu down from 67 items to 65, and then it was fine.
I mean, for me, highlights running this. Again, I said off mic before, one of the bits that really struck me is in episode 6, I think. It's either episode 5 or episode 6. And it's Yumim. And it's the point where Larsa really does realise, because you'd been building up and taking baby steps towards rebellion, and then another little step, but they were always seemed quite coy, quite reluctant, kind of, "Oh, I'm being forced, but it's all right, because as long as I just do this, then I'm fine and I can take it back, and I can explain away this step." And then there's one bit, and it's where you're breaking them in, and you kind of stop, and there is this really kind of, right, oh, yeah, okay, we'll sort this out, right. And then there's a pause, which I did truncate down a little bit on the edit, but then there's a pause. And then you just kind of go, all right, we're doing this then, let's get on with it. And it really struck me as being a real tipping point for Larsa. That seemed to me the point where she realised that she couldn't just take little tiptoes and had to just throw herself into it. That's certainly how it came across to me.
That's been the most decisive moment. For Agatha, it's been, well, Dren seems okay with it, so he sort of just run with it. I don't know how Agatha and thrown themselves to the edge, but yeah, Larsa's moment was the biggest on that.
Well, it's been a lot of fun playing her. I wasn't sure how I felt about her at the start. She was a grumpy old woman, but as I've played her whole world and things that happened in her past to make her be a grumpy old woman have sort of run along. And I am going to say, I think part of it is because of I do live action roleplay instead of just tabletop roleplay. So I've been quite happy to just let her character develop on her own, depending on how things are going. So once I've made her, I had no end goal for her until working with you guys gave her an end goal. I was absolutely on the fence about light side, dark side, stories of the Jedi, stories of the Sith, the Empire, the Rebellion. Very much neither of them are any good. all they do is cause trouble for the small person.
They just
like
steal
me.
babies.
They steal babies. I'm absolutely adamant about that. That is something I'm sticking with. I was told that the Sith steal babies and the Jedi steal
do as well,
babies. One of them does it slightly nicer. Like, one of them leaves a gift basket and says, "Don't worry, we're taking your kid somewhere nice," and the other one just leaves a dagger and a piece of paper saying, "Got your kid, tough luck."
Where do the Sith get all the gift baskets from?
There's a planet of, because it's Star Wars.
Planet of gift baskets.
There's a planet of gift baskets because there's a planet of everything.
Oh, that's good. No.
But yeah, it's been a nice thing of, I'm not involved in this. What I am doing is the most logical thing to keep everything going. We're stuck in the cold, right? Come to mine. I'll tell them why you're not there.
I absolutely loved Lass and Jiren arguing whether they were going on a heist or a rescue. That was one of my favourite bits. Because heist isn't something that Lasser would want to do, because Lasser's not a criminal, whereas Jiren has to go on a heist. He can do heists. He can't do rescues. He's never rescued anybody. He's only done heists.
It just happens to be a heist where you're stealing a person.
Yeah, exactly. It was the way our ideologies just wouldn't mesh at all.
And that was the only way I could go through with it, was the fact that we're in trouble. This person that I've known for years has not shown anything bad. Yeah, we all might have political opinions, but he doesn't deserve this. Because I know a little bit about the history of, they steal babies, they steal Force-sensitive people. I know this is bad, so we've got to get him out. But getting him out is leading to picking a side. And that's the difficult thing. She's picked a side, not because she likes that side, but because everything has sadly put her on that side.
Sometimes you find yourself on a side because that's the side that you're on. You haven't picked a side, you just happen to be on that side because that's who you are. You can't be anti yourself, or you can be, but that's foolish. And as soon as you realise what you're doing, you suddenly find yourself on the other side.
Peer pressure, kids. Just remember, stay true to yourself and don't follow mad people with guns who claim they know what's going on with Jedi Force powers.
Don't do death sticks.
Don't do death sticks.
So would you say Jiren's, in the adventure, when would you say Jiren came on board with this is the team where...
He's still not entirely sure. He knows you're all competent, but he's still treating it like it's like an Ocean's 11 style thing. So
it hasn't been like that for the couple of years he's been in the prison. So as soon as he starts the heist, that's where he starts waking up.
I think you asked a question about people being outside their comfort zone in the mid of the... And it's weird, because Jiren was outside his comfort zone until this started, and this is his comfort zone, doing things on the fly, working out how to get to the next bit, basically being a planner for criminal activities. So he's been feeling better since we started being in mortal danger and peril than he has for the entire, I can't do anything, I'm a talker, there's 50 people here, they don't trust me. So it was a nice sort of way of getting into his element.
From Oberon's perspective, previously he's had people to interact with people like you. Mm-hmm. So all of his life has been spent assessing people for what they are, who they're supposed to be to him, and what they want from him. So it's all been very cold and calculating and kind of unemotional. And suddenly, when he's spending time with actual people, his little frosty imperial heart has been melting gently for a while, which is unfortunate because he's probably going to get it absolutely smashed at some point, because he's going to get betrayed at least once or twice because he's still quite naive.
I'm sorry, I'm playing the world's smallest violin for you, Empire Boy.
It's from the world's smallest violin planet, which also exists in stuff.
I know that guy. Oberon knows that guy, and that guy hates the fact that all of his stock is used for sarcasm. He makes these beautiful musical instruments that that can be played by all sorts of tiny aliens and play at tiny orchestras, and he does the full thing. And his violins are only ever used for sarcasm. It's annoying.
Well, yeah, but they're always the littlest violin. It's never of the range of littlest violin. Every single one is supposed to be the smallest. Yeah,
and no one mentions the smallest tuba,
which oddly is what Prinkle plays.
Yeah,
I heard that rumor.
We need to start a band. Sorry, carry on. I take that back.
Speaking of, just very briefly, so I went to see Bill Bailey last night. He was great, but he was saying about the major and minor keys for music, and the minor key being quite a depressing, portentous key, and the Imperial March in the minor key. He then played the Imperial March in the major key, and it is just the most amazing thing, and I need to get that for an in-character ringtone. Or an in-world hold music. It is, if you've not heard it, I'm sure someone must have played it and put it on YouTube. It is amazing.
There's a YouTube channel where someone sits down with the piano and does major songs and like explains the key and goes all the way through, and it's great fun as well. But also, if you play the Imperial March in a slightly different key, you get the song "My Girl from Whitetown."
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
I just find it always. I start off doing like the funeral. The two are now just stuck together. So when I die,
Your Woman from Whitetail,
yeah.
and that bit at the start is from a song called "My Woman," which is a song from the 1920s, which is in not in a minor key. So yeah,
it's in a major key, and you can see there's a fascinating history of music that can be done with the music of Star Wars, because the people who create the music of Star Wars were incredibly talented, which is why it's...
So anyway, time is ticking on. So how about, Ed, we hand over to you and you give us all a little bit of a teaser about what's coming up in Shadows of the Jedi.
So my campaign's called The Shadows of the Jedi. It's the same crew as before, so it's all the familiar voices, but if you don't like my voice and you try and zone out of that, I'm afraid I've got some bad news for you. So it's called Shadows of the Jedi. I chose Shadows of the Jedi because no one else has used it. So, yeah. I was like, what? No one's used Shadows of the Jedi? And also it fits the campaign that I was writing.
Shampoo of the Jedi wasn't taken either, but we didn't go for that one.
Oh, Shampoo of the Jedi might come up, actually. But anyway.
Conditioner of the Jedi.
The yellow scroll thing, do we call it the yellow scroll? The scrolling screen. The yellow text on the
opening crawl.
The opening crawl, that's it. It is the dying days of the Republic. I'll not do the voice. The coils of the Empire grow, throttling the last remnants of hope. Galaxy is in tatters, the wounds of the Clone War still fresh. Heroes and villains alike have fled and are now lurking in the four corners of known space. The wasteland world of Cinnavel is one such place, host to many who have lost their way. Among them, a forgotten weapon bides its time, along with a genius, a penitent, and a fool. Each have denied the call of destiny once, yet the Force has a plan for each of them, each aware of a lurking horror that will shape the fate of the galaxy forever. I should point out the dying days of the Republic. We're talking -5, maybe -6, but before the Battle of Yavin, because when we get to the first Star Wars: A New Hope, the Republic has finally collapsed, but the Emperor's in charge, but there's still a Senate, and the Senate is finally murdered with the end of Alderaan. So it's a very dramatic, just because someone will write in, it's a very dramatic way of saying it's the start. It's that period of time.
It's pre-Rogue One, as you say, Star Wars Rebels time.
Yeah, that kind of that sweet spot where there is a galactic rebellion. There is a rebellion happening,
but it hasn't really come to being a unified force as such. It's more still,
there's lots of individual cells. The planet itself, Cinnavel, is we'll describe it more. I've been inspired for this from more Blake 7, and it's partially because the game that we've been playing here is a lot of disparate people who don't really get on, so should be getting on. And the fun thing about Blake 7, of course, is that they bicker constantly. Do we need to explain Blake 7 to the audience?
I don't know, you need to explain it to me.
Google it, foos.
It's a 1970s British space program, space TV, science fiction TV show, where the Federation are the baddies, which used to confuse the heck out of me as a kid. Because I'd be like, the Federation, that's Star Trek, but they're the goodies. And what? I didn't realise it wasn't the same Federation. And they're essentially a bunch of rebels on a spaceship, kind of standard Firefly style. Blake 7 came first. It's really, really dark, and it's really, really British.
We are really keeping this is a British podcast. Blake 7. We'll throw in some Doctor Who references soon. It's okay. We'll be there.
Everyone, of the Forgotten Weapon, Genius, Penitent, and Fool, which one do you think your characters are?
I think I'm the weapon.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not the weapon.
Roger.
No, I think I'm the penitent. I think I possibly am, because lots of bad things have happened to me before we started.
Only the penitent man will pass. The penitent man.
I'd like to think I'm the genius, but I suspect that I'm the fool.
You and I are going to find out which.
You're both.
I suspect my character is a 17-year-old, extremely arrogant, gambling weapons modder with a best mate is a battle droid, and generally, much like Jaren in the Coldfire Chronicles, has yet to be assured of his own mortality. So I think I'm almost certainly the fool.
What I want is I want a kind of unlike this campaign, I'm inspired by Rebels and the fact that I like the idea of coming back to a world once in a while, even if the characters aren't particularly attached to it. You just find yourself, stuff keeps happening in one particular place. But obviously it's Star Wars, so you have to have a ship and you have to have these sort of elements to the storytelling.
You need a droid. Everyone needs a droid.
And because...
I got 2.
Ooh.
We seem to have got by the Coldfire Chronicles without a droid.
You have Prenkle, he's close enough.
Plus, I've got that thing in my bag, remember? No one has seen my private project in my bag.
Oh, do you have an astromech?
I don't think I can fit a whole, R2 astromech in my bag, but there might be one of those small black ones or something.
I want a C1. I don't want an R2, I want a C1. Who doesn't want to see one? Because they're really grumpy.
I don't want to see anything from yours.
Certainly don't want to see one.
Sorry, that was my chopper impression.
Just in case nobody got that.
Well, I'm just leaving that there.
Do we explain British slang to... Never mind.
No. How long do you think we've got?
So the world's called Cynabel. It's an outer rim wasteland world because obviously it's Star Wars, so you want to pick a theme. So I decided to pick loads of them. Mm-hmm. The build behind the idea behind Cynabel, and stop me if you don't want to hear it until we get to the campaign. But the idea behind the world itself is it used to be a world like Corellia. It used to be brilliant. And much like that sketch in Mighty Python and the Holy Grail, where they built a castle and it sank, so they built another castle and it sank, and they built a castle so it sank. What they did was they built a world that was essentially one living city, and then it collapsed in itself due to atomic war and strife because Star Wars. So people came back and went, oh, there's lots of resources here, we'll just build over it again. So they built over it. And then they had enough, and because of where it was at the time, it had another atomic war, and it collapsed on itself. And this happened a very long time ago.
Yes.
They sank more pork.
Back when there was
Atomics.
back in that part of when that part of the Outer Rim was actually a place to go, that where it was worth it. Since then, the galaxy has changed. Mm-hmm. Since then, the actual route you need to get there in your hyperdrive has changed, which is why on the outside it's green. It's got like green nebula space. It's an eerie looking place because it used to be Corellia. It used to be great. It's not been like that for a very, very, very long time. What it is now is it's blue sand, and the blue sand is construction material. It's been ground into sand.
That's cool.
It rains red because of the high density storm clouds of dust. So the planet is literally, blue and orange to that look of it, which basically makes it look like an action movie. That orange and teal effect to the world. Yeah. So the main city is called Red Yes, and the biggest bar is called the Bloody Kiss, which is where you'll end up meeting. And it's this kind of iron and ceramic, orange and teal wasteland world with swoop gangs that go out and investigate and grab stuff. And you have there is a hut presence because no one else wants it. So it's in that sweet spot between the edge of the Galactic Empire, the Outer Rim worlds, and the hut space. So it's like, well, the Empire can kind of, because it's got lots of old stuff in it. It's full of ancient artifacts and ancient places and ancient history. But also the huts are like, well, there's supply and it's a reasonable point to be there. So that's the build of the world, and that's the plot hook for the world.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
Yep. Well, you will find out more when we get round to running episode 1, season 1 of Shadows of the Jedi. Until then, thank you very much for listening. We hope you've had fun. We hope you enjoyed this informal glimpse into the lives behind the screen. And we will see you in a fortnight for Shadows of the Jedi.
Woo!
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Force Majeure is played using the Star Wars Force and Destiny game system by Fantasy Flight Games and Lucas Books. You can find us on Twitter at Force Majeure Pod, on Instagram at Force Majeure Pod, on email at forcemajeurepod@gmail.com, and our website at forcemajeurepod.com. If you're enjoying the show, please let us know, talk to us on social media or drop us a review. We'd be very grateful. It lets us know that we're telling the kind of stories that you want to hear. Our intro music is Actionable by BenSound, and our outro music is Suburban Outlaw by Forget the Whale, both used with gratitude under the Creative Commons license. An amount of the sound effects and ambient sound in our show is provided by Sirenscape, because epic games deserve epic sounds. For episode-specific attribution for some of the music used, again under Creative Commons, please see the individual episode descriptions for details. Thank you very much, we hope you're enjoying the show, and we'll catch you next time.